Good afternoon, all. My name is Tim Cawley. I'm the president of Con Edison, as Jamie had mentioned, and I'm here to give you a brief update and answer some questions about the storm restoration efforts. I am right now in what we call our CERC, our Corporate Emergency Response Center. And if you look behind me, behind my shoulders, you can see screens and data shots. This is where we come together as a company to respond to large incidents. We use the incident command structure. It allows us to coordinate, communicate, streamline logistics and otherwise, so that we basically support those folks doing the work in the field. In typical years, this CERC is a very busy place, very populated, and sort of a lot of dynamic activity. Because of COVID, we've adjusted our protocols, so we're still accomplishing the same support that we had pre-COVID, but we're doing a lot of that remotely. We have a core team here that practices social distancing and masks and hygiene as per COVID, and we're able to support the effort in really strong fashion under these terms. First, I'd like to say we've made real progress on the restoration. It's been almost 48 hours since the storm sort of passed the area. But we fully recognize the hardships our customers experience when they're out of lights, even for a short period. And it's for that reason that we are keenly focused and dedicated on doing everything we can do and working around the clock to ensure the safe and speedy restoration to our customers. So what I'll do today is I'll provide you an update of where we stand, and then I'll describe next steps moving forward in the restoration. So as all of you know, this was a real significant weather event. 70-mile-per-hour gusts and sustained tropical force winds of 50 miles per hour and greater were seen in our service territory. That wind had an incredible impact on our overhead system, the poles and the wires and the transformers that are up in the air. And that impact is caused by downed trees, incredible amounts of tree damage, over 500 road closures. In responding to the restorations, in many cases, we are rebuilding the infrastructure, literally replacing poles and spans of wire and transformers. So most of these are not repair jobs, these are rebuild jobs, and they're very labor intensive and time intensive. The other thing about this storm was it was really a regional event. We saw impact from the southern tip of Staten Island in our service territory all the way up through northern Westchester. In total, about 300,000 customers were impacted by this storm, and it was fairly fast moving. The storm rolled through our area in probably less than 4 hours and caused all of this damage. We could literally see the damage on our outage notification system as it rolled from the south to the north. Of those 300,000, 180,000 were in New York City and 120,000 in Westchester. We began restoration Tuesday afternoon immediately after the storm passed to our north. By early this morning, just 36 hours after the storm had pushed north, we had restored service to more than half of those customers. Currently, there are approximately 65,000 customers remaining out of service in New York City and another 73,000 in Westchester County. So I'll talk about some of the things we're doing to move forward to continue the restoration and serve our customers by providing them the service that they expect and deserve. We're focused wholly, the whole corporation, on this effort. We've got this CERC set up to facilitate that. We have over 1,000 workers supplemented by over 670 mutual aid workers. These are folks that come in from other areas, either contractors or other utility crews. They travel in to support storm efforts. In cases where they get hit by a storm, we provide that support, and they reciprocate to our end, to assist us. I can tell you this is the first time we have flown crews in to support the effort. So even as crews are not located nearby, they can fly in and assist in the effort. We're working around the clock, and we're going to make progress every hour of every day, reducing the outage numbers and restoring service to our customers. We've also begun to publish estimated restoration times for our customers. So we're going through the planning process, and as we understand which jobs are going to go out, we will assign an estimated restoration time to that job, and customers will be notified and can check our outage maps for those restoration times. We expect the vast majority of customers to be restored by Sunday night, and we're going to work tirelessly to get all those on as soon as we can. With that, Jamie, I'll open it up to questions.
Great, thank you very much, Tim. We just want to remind everybody again, if you have a question, head down to the bottom of your screen with the participants button, select raise your hand, and we're going to go to Ali Bauman now of Channel 2 News, I believe. Gonna give me a moment to unmute you.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead, Ali.
Ali Bauman with WCBS TV. So we've been in Westchester for the past couple of days driving around, and a lot of customers have said they haven't seen any crews out. We've seen very few crews out. The mayor of Yonkers also reiterated that earlier today, that there's seemingly less crews that we've seen visually. My first question being, why would that be that residents are seeing fewer crews than in past years and past storms?
Yeah, so I can't comment precisely on what certain residents are seeing. I know we're out there and we continue to supplement the crewing to help expedite the restoration. So as I said, in about 36 hours, we restored 150,000 customers on the system, and that's with crews that are out there. And we're supplementing those crews. We expect about another 500 mutual aid crews tomorrow, and we get ready to roll them out. So I can't comment on what they're seeing, but I do know that the folks who are out there are making an impact on the restoration.
Okay, now we're going to go to Chris Eberhardt. Chris, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cawley. I just have two questions. I'm from the Journal News in Westchester. Can you just give us, you said there was about 73,000 in Westchester that are still without power. Two things. Can you say in restoration times, it seems to be a big difference between some are saying now, some are saying on Sunday. Can you just give us a little more definitive times when people might see their power?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. So about 73,000 customers out in Westchester. We've got an engineering analysis group that takes in damage assessment from the field and packages the work that they can execute that work. Each day, we will progress in the restoration numbers down. We are saying that the vast majority across the entire Con Ed service territory, the 300,000 customers that were originally interrupted, the vast majority of those will be restored by Sunday night. We'll continue to work, particularly on scattered smaller outages into Monday and early next week, where there's lots of effort for few customers. So the way we prioritize is we'll go after those jobs with the largest number of customers. So several crews can impact work and restore large blocks of a neighborhood or a part of town. As we work down, we're sending those few crews to do similar amounts of work, but only getting a few restorations, could be a single home. So each day, we're going to continue to bring that 73,000 in Westchester number down. We will be articulating and sharing through our websites and text messaging the restoration times for those jobs that we're working. And so we're going to be working 24/7, really through Sunday night into Monday to effect repairs.
Thank you, Tim. We're going to go speak to Shannon Ferry of New York One. Shannon Ferry, you have the floor.
Hi, do you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, thanks for having us. So we've been out and about, as many of the other reporters here too, and I've spoken to quite a few people who say the bags of ice are just not enough. They've invested, some of them, thousands of dollars in their own generators because they can't imagine waiting until possibly Sunday for power. Is there anything else that they can get? I guess, what's your message to these residents?
Yeah, so first of all, we recognize the hardships of not having electric service, even for a short time. So I know what that's about, and the company is focused on doing all we can for the speedy and safe restoration of service. We have a number of ICE locations, I think 6 across the service territory, and certainly Jamie can provide that to you folks. So really just know that we're doing all we can to expedite repairs. The storm really packed a wallop, had incredible impact on our infrastructure, and we're doing all we can to bring in the restorations as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go back to Ali Bauman of Channel 2 News, who has a follow-up question. You there, Ali? Oh, hold on. Okay, Ali Bauman.
Thank you. Hi. So I have a specific question about an example in New Rochelle where there's a dead-end street in New Rochelle that a big tree came down, bringing the wires down with it, blocking essentially half the dead-end street from being able to get out or go in or bring the car out and in. And a lot of people there are concerned about emergency crews not being able to get in. They had to, throw out food from their fridge, and now they can't even go to the grocery store and bring the food back. So why wouldn't something like that, a dead-end street, be a priority for Con Ed to address?
Yeah, so it is a priority, and we certainly want to get that addressed for you. We likely have it, but as you've raised it, we can see what the status is. There are over 500 block roadways in Westchester County, and so we do prioritize them, and we work with the municipalities to make sure our wires are clear of the trees. Sometimes we clear the trees, sometimes we work with the community to do it. Certainly it's a priority, and it's a matter of getting there. There's a deep, long list, over 500. We're working them down, certainly, and clearing roads each day. And it is a priority, so we can follow up on that. But there are state roads that were blocked initially. There were entrances to medical facilities that were blocked. This certainly would rank up there, so we can follow up, Ali.
Thank you, Tim. We have another question now from someone only identified as Chris. Chris, could you tell us your full name and your news outlet? If you can unmute yourself. Stand by. Trying to unmute Chris.
Hi, it's Chris Martin with Bloomberg News. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chris.
Yes, I can.
Great, thank you. Can you tell me a little about the decision to bring in 500 workers from other utilities initially, and then to bring in another 500? Why didn't you bring in 1,000 at first? And are these people, was there any concern that you're competing with other utilities in the region to get other crews here to help out?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. On the front end, we monitor the weather. We've got meteorologists on staff. The weather's a big part of our business, both winter and summer. And so we're watching the storm as it's swirling well before it gets to Florida, and watching it each day. And we determine, based on the path and some different scenarios, some downside scenarios or worst case scenarios, that we would bring in proactively about 500 additional workers to address what the impact was based on the weather forecast, plus a bit. In addition to bringing those workers in, we set up staging areas, we established our CERC, and we were ready to go to respond to any damage the storm brought. Frankly, the storm brought a lot more. The 70-mile-an-hour gusts exceeded anything we had seen in the forecast, and particularly the tropical force winds, the sustained 50-plus-mile-an-hour winds, really did damage to an incredible number of trees. I had seen where New York City had to respond to more down trees than they had in any other prior events. I don't know about Sandy. This event is second only to Superstorm Sandy in terms of the customer impact. So effectively, we made a decision before the storm hit, based on the weather and a conservative approach, to be ready for the storm. And when the storm came through, it came through with more severity than we thought. On the back end, as soon as we recognize that we're going to need more staffing, we reach for it. And we're able to bring some in. I mentioned we have flown some crews in from other parts of the country. It's quicker to get them in, and effectively they don't have the bucket trucks, but we'll work around the clock. So one shift we'll use a bucket, and we just change it out in the field. So effectively we're changing shift at the base of a pole. We've done that, and we also request crews through a mutual aid process and we continue to get more response for that. The storm started in Florida and came up, as you know, and many utilities were tied up, either anticipating the storm to hit to the north of us or to the south of us, responding to outages. And when they're in that state, they're not in a position to release more. It's gotten to the point where things have stabilized to the south and west of us over the last day or two, and we're starting to see crews arrive to help facilitate the restoration and really bring in the length of time that our customers have to endure without electricity.
Okay, we're going to take one or two more questions. Let's go back to Chris Eberhardt, who has a follow-up. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. There has been that concerted effort to try to get rid of some of those dead trees. Do you know if that helped at all? And then once this settles down, is there any plans to try to either reinforce or replace some of the aging infrastructure to avoid some of these issues?
Yeah, so on the program you talk about, we have a program where we do vegetation management, effectively tree trimming, to ensure limbs don't get into the conductors, and that's a big cause of problems. And that's been a very effective program for us. A few years ago, we started a program where our arborists go out and take a look at trees adjacent to our power lines, and if they are unhealthy to the point that they're at risk of failing, and some of these are privately owned trees or in the public right of way, we'll take them down. It's a danger tree removal program. So we've moved into that. It has some impact, but if you've been in Westchester County, and I imagine you have, the urban forest there is big and thick, and there are thousands and thousands of trees. So while we take away the most unhealthy of the trees, it's a big forest, and when you get winds like that, you're going to have them come down. With regard to infrastructure investment, we have invested heavily in this system. Overall, we invest about $3 billion in our energy delivery systems each year. And on capital installations. In Westchester County, in particular, we have a program where we invest over $25 million a year for the sole purpose of hardening our system against storms. And that could be larger poles, it could be more resilient wire. Oftentimes, it's sectionalizing switches such that, and smart switches, electronic switches, that if a tree comes down, the switch will sense the fault and isolate that portion. So in the past, maybe 1,000 customers would have gone out of light. Now it's only 500. And we've seen real gains in terms of that investment. So over the last 4 or 5 years, we'll spend $25 million a year specifically for that storm hardening program and spend upwards of $100 million. It benefits us during the storms, and it also benefits us during blue sky periods.
Thanks, Tim. And now last question is going to be with Shannon Ferry. Again, Shannon at New York One, are you there?
Yes, thanks, Jamie. And just one quick question focused on New York City, Tim. What's the game plan going into tonight? Should residents of any borough in particular be prepared to wait the longest period of time? I know Sunday is the max, but is there any game plan in terms of which boroughs you're kind of tackling first and getting complete?
So really great question. We are attacking all of the boroughs in parallel. So Manhattan, because it's an underground system, you don't see poles in Manhattan. The storm blew through and there was no impact. So it's really, we're talking about the 4 outer boroughs. Brooklyn doesn't have many customers out, and we can get you the numbers, but we are attacking each of the boroughs in parallel. And effectively, we're going after the outages that have the most customers associated with them. We do that work, we get the most back. And then as you work your way down through Saturday into Sunday, you're doing lots of work for few customer restores. And so we're applying that approach system-wide and also applying it across New York City.
Thank you.
Okay, Jake Offenhartz of Gothamist. We're going to squeeze him in here. He's got one question. Let me just see if I can unmute you, Jake. All right, go ahead, Jake.
Great, thanks for taking the question. So I mean, you mentioned that Manhattan didn't see any impact because they have the lines buried underground. I know there's a lot of officials who called for burying lines in Brooklyn, parts of Westchester. My understanding is Con Ed has said that's too expensive. There's this storm hardening approach. seems like that didn't work out so well in this case. I mean, is this storm making you re-examine that, and are you considering burying any other lines?
Yeah, so we have done some selective undergrounding of circuits. So for example, if we have a pole line with two critical overhead circuits on the same pole line, as a getaway or a sort of an exit from a substation, a major infrastructure source. In certain cases, we'll do analysis and say, you know, to mitigate the risk here, let's put one underground and leave one above. Or on a new build, we might take that approach. We've done studies, and it is incredibly expensive, prohibitively expensive, frankly, to underground the existing overhead system. So we pick spots on the system where it can be particularly beneficial from a risk mitigation and reliability standpoint. The other thing we do on the overhead system is there are different types of cables you can put in the overhead. And we are now, as part of that $25 million a year spend, putting up more resilient overhead cable. We call it aerial cable. And that has proven to be really effective in staying in service through these kinds of events. You can't apply it in all cases, but where we can, we've applied it. So the shorter answer is prohibitively expensive to put this infrastructure underground. And you have to remember, we could bury it underground. The other utilities would have to come underground. And then each customer would have to change their point of entry from the second floor, for example. We call it a weatherhead, but the entrance point on the second floor, they'd have to, frankly, pay for an underground run into their house. And that's really, for each homeowner, that becomes an expensive endeavor. So we've looked at it. Again, we've landed on selective undergrounding and hardening of the overhead system. But frankly, the issue comes up after each storm, and we take a look at it. I forget offhand what it is per mile, but it is incredibly prohibitive.
Okay, Tim Cawley, we're going to wrap this up. Could you give us any closing thoughts? Is there anything else that didn't come up here that you want to remind us about before we go?
Just really know that we are keenly and uniformly focused on the safe, speedy restoration of service to our customers. We recognize the hardship it is to go without service for even a short period, and to go days, it's a real hardship. So know that the entire company's effort is there. Our crews have endured a really hot summer in the field. They've done an incredible job and put in a huge effort, and I know they'll continue to do that to serve the customers in this great city.